Good afternoon, dear teacher. I would like to talk about Nelson Mandela. In this presentation, we'll explore the most important aspects of Mandela's life and the reasons because he has been considered one of the most important world leaders. I'm going to divide this presentation into 4 parts. The first one, introduction. The next one, biography. Inside, childhood, youth, fight against apartheid, arrest, and years in jail. Release from prison and the presidency of South Africa. Last years, the third, arguments, and finally, conclusion. Okay, let's start by the introduction. This biography is about Nelson Mandela, a 20th and 21st century South African activist, lawyer, and politician. He was known mainly for fight peacefully against racial segregation in South Africa, establish a democratic political model in his country, and to be President of the Republic of South Africa between 1994 and 1999. The interest in researching Mandela's biography is because the fact that he was a world leader who forever changed the history of South Africa. It is an African country located on the African continent, colonized by Europeans and subject since the beginning of the 20th century to the apartheid racial segregation regime. Okay. The next topic I would like to focus is on the biography. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela was a South African activist, lawyer, and politician of the 20th and 21st centuries. He was born on July 18, 1918, and died on December 5, 2013, at the age of 19 years old. Childhood. She was born in Mweso, a small village located in southern South Africa, where he grew up simply in a tribal context. At age of 9, his father died and his mother left him in charge of the regent of his village, who would be responsible for Mandela until his adulthood. Youth. Nelson was educated at an elite black boarding school and university. At age 23, in 1941, he moved to Johannesburg and joined the CNA, African National Congress, a political party that advocates for the rights of the country's black population. Okay, now we'll move on to his fight against apartheid, arrest, and years in jail. In 1948, a group of radical nationalists came to the government of South Africa, bringing with them a regime of racial segregation in which the supremacy of the white man was imposed. Mandela, far from succumbing to the racist absolutism of the government, organized a rebellion of non-violent civil disobedience from within the ANC. After 10 years of incessant struggle against apartheid, the ruling leaders wanted to end the resistance of the ANC and its roots and outlawed the party. leading Mandela and the other activists to organize an armed struggle for underground. On August 5, 1962, Nelson Mandela was arrested for conspiracy against the government, among other crimes, and will spend the next 27 years of his life in jail. Now, let's look at release from prison and the presidency of South Africa. During the 1980s, the increase in racial violence and development of global society catalyzed the growth in the number of protests against the South African regime with Mandela's name as a banner. The government, faced with the internal and international pressure to which it was being subject, decided to release Mandela on February 11, 1990. 3 months after his release, he was elected to lead the ANC, and from his position of power, he fought for democracy, achieving that in 1994. The first democratic election in the history of South Africa were held with him as the winner, thus becoming the first black president of South Africa. Now, let's turn about last years. The last years of his life after the presidency, between 1994 and 1999, were dedicated to continuing his social action internationally as well as through the Nelson Mandela Foundation. Finally, on December 5, 2013, after more than a decade retired from public life, he died of a respiratory infection at 95 years of age. Now, I would like to discuss the arguments because I consider Mandela was a great world leader. I really admire Nelson Mandela because he was a great leader with many qualities as a human being and a leader. For example, empathy to connect. He had the ability to remember the name of the people he had met, and this is the pulse of a good leader. Immense patience. Mandela rebelled against tyranny patiently and during the years of confinement. Ability to forgive. When he was elected president of the nation, he did well to forgive the whites who for years were his enemies. Mandate expiring. As soon as he was elected president, he set a date at the time of his departure, a term of 5 years and nothing more. Learn from mistakes. Mandela's life was full of failures and mistakes, especially on a personal level, but he made sure they didn't turn against him. Caution and generosity. As he did with the Afrikaners, he faithful of the previous government, whom he respected and kept in office since he argued that the only thing people want in peace and security for themselves and their loved ones. A great visionary, he knew how to use all the springs to achieve his goals, to unite blacks and whites, and there was a magical moment in his career. The final of the Rugby World Cup The Sport of Whites, in the summer of 1995, held in Johannesburg, Ellis Park. Born seducer, everyone who knew him fell in love with his charms. He is common among great leaders. Even the Queen of England allowed him to call her Elizabeth. Ability to negotiate. The desire to reach an agreement that is satisfactory for all parties is something that distinguishes a leader. Example and constancy. Mandela, those who knew him said, had no problems. He presented himself as a man of integrity, and throughout his life he didn't deviate from the path he had traced. In conclusion, Nelson Mandela showed that to be a great leader, it is necessary to have a good attitude to face the challenge of life. He was persevering and never gave up his desire to change the destiny of his community. He sacrificed his freedom to serve his nation and see it free from the oppression. Thank you very much for your attention. This is the source that I use to do this biography. I would like to know if you have any question. It will be a pleasure to answer for you. Thank you very much.